Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Ruki Esharigara, the course facilitator. I came online earlier and a few people complained about not seeing the video clearly, hence I had to stop it. So if you're online and you can hear and see me, please indicate, but I'm just going to go through with the video till the very end. So I can see that one person is online. Can you please let me know if you can see me clearly, if the audio is good and if the video quality is also good on your end? Can you please let me know? So I'm waiting for your comments so I can carry on. Hi Moturayo, can you see me? Can you hear me? Is it clear enough? I haven't gotten any feedback yet. Can you see and hear me? Is it clear? Okay, thank you very much, Charity, for that feedback. All right, so welcome to the Montessori Phonics course. This is day 2 of the course, and this is when we kick off proper. Day 1 was for registration, so I'm hoping that a lot of you have registered. Like I said earlier, I will go through. Okay, thank you, Moturayo. Like I said earlier, I will go through the forms, and then if your name is not there, I will let you know. So not to worry at all. We still have some time because I saw some posts on the WhatsApp group today. Not to worry, we still have some time. I'm going to get back to you and let you know. Okay, so going straight into what today is about. What is phonics? Today is Introduction to Phonics. So what is phonics? I know some of you already know, but for the sake of all those who do not know, I'm going to take it from the very beginning till the end. So phonics is a way of teaching children to read by decoding sounds. Meaning, rather than teach ABC, the child listens for the sound. So it starts with the sounds of the alphabet, A, B, K, until the end, to Z. So it starts with the children knowing their sounds, teaching children to hear sounds in words, to be able to break down words into sounds. That's what phonics is. So when a child sees a word, the child should be able to identify the sounds that make up that word. Or when a child hears a word, the child should be able to identify and state the sounds that also make up the word. So if I tell a child, spell bag, the child will write B-A-G, not because he knows it as B-A-G, but because he has listened and he knows that B-A-G gives you bag. So that's what phonics is about. It's about knowing all the sounds from A to Z, knowing how to blend them into words, and knowing how to break words into sounds. So that is really what phonics is about. Phonics is not the same as phonetics, and phonics is not about twisting of the tongue or getting a diction teacher. That's totally different. Phonics is purely about the sounds of the alphabet, how you combine them to form words, and how you can break them, or how you can deconstruct or decode words, break words into sounds. That is really what phonics is about. Now, someone asked me, why not ABCs? We all learned to read in our generation. We learned to read using ABCs. So why not ABCs now? Why phonics? Well, if you look back, or if you think back to your childhood, none of us started reading at 3. No one of us started reading at 3. With ABCs, the children are memorizing words. So the child has to know that B-A-G gives me bag. Anywhere I see B-A-G, I know that is bag. But that same child, when that same child sees a word like abacus, for instance, the child won't know what to do with it, because if he's not familiar with the words, he won't know that you break it. It's the same sounds, just break it. Ab, ak, us. The child wouldn't know that. Rather, the child will be doing A, B, A, C, U, S. So I hope you're all following me. So with phonics, the child will read faster, the child will read earlier. With phonics, there's less stress. It comes as a more natural thing to the child. When a child already knows his sounds and he understands the concept of blending, of putting sounds together to form words, even when the child sees a word he has never seen before, The child will be able to blend it. If a child sees something he's not familiar with, a word he's not familiar with, the first thing the child would do is to try to blend the words or blend the sounds. But a child who has learnt ABCs will not be thinking of blending. The child will try to recall if he has seen that word before. I don't know if you've observed children do this, where a child sees one word and immediately wants to call it another word. I've seen a situation where a child was reading and he was going bag, cat, and reading all the words. But what he was pointing at was not what was on that page. He hadn't even got into a word, but he was already saying it. That child is reading from memory. That child is trying to read from memory. That child is not blending. So when you teach ABCs instead of teaching sounds, the child tries to read from memory. He tries to read everything like a sight word, but that's not the way phonics works. That's not how Montessori phonics works. So phonics first before alphabet. So it's important you teach phonics first before alphabet. And when you're going to teach phonics, you ensure that you carry your parents along with you. If you own a school, the parents in the school. If you're a teacher, you have to let the management of the school know, so that they can inform all the parents that this is how we're teaching. So please don't teach alphabets and sounds at the same time. Let the parents know. You can organize sessions for your parents where you teach them the sounds so that they know how to follow their children at home with homework and all the different things they're doing. So now phonics is, so it helps the children read faster. It helps the children read faster. The children are not memorizing, and it puts less pressure on the children. You see, when a child knows how to blend, they enjoy it. Even when there's nobody there, you see the child always trying to blend out words. But a child who has just memorized words will not enjoy reading as much, because each time he sees a word he doesn't understand, there's just a shutdown. He loses interest. The child will lose interest, or the child will call it another word. You know, a child sees cat, and because he remembers bats, he tries to call it bat instead. He's trying to remember. So phonics is better. It's better for you to teach children using phonics because it's more natural. Now, all over the world, it is known, it's a fact that phonics is better for children, mostly if you want them to read early. Every teacher should know phonics. Every teacher should know the sounds and should know the techniques of teaching children to blend. So that even if it's in a primary school and you have children who are struggling with their reading, you can apply this same phonics and teach the children. So if it's in a primary school where you have some children who are behind, you can use phonics to teach them. If it's a nursery school where the children are on the right track, then use phonics to teach them. Don't teach alphabets and sounds at the same time. It's confusing. Mostly for the younger children. If you are teaching a 3-year-old, don't teach alphabets and sounds at the same time. It's better to teach only the sounds, because what you have when you teach sounds and alphabets at the same time is the child will not know when to give you sounds and when to give you alphabets. So for instance, if I have the word bad written and I say blend this word, you would see a child who's learning sounds and alphabets at the same time might go B, A, D. That doesn't make any sense, even to you as an adult and to the child. The child won't know what to do. Or if you say, blend this word, and the child goes, B-A-D. The child, so you see that children who are learning both, confusing, they find it confusing oftentimes. And you see them give you sounds, give you letters when they should give you sounds. And you find yourself always telling them, no, not the letter, give me the sound. So rather than have all that hassle, which will cause more confusion for the child, focus on phonics first. Focus on your sounds first, and later you can add, when the child has started blending, you teach the alphabets. Teaching alphabets doesn't take time. For children to learn ABC, very easy. I've worked with children, and some of the children I've worked with, in less than a week, some even in less than a day, they already know the ABCs. Why? Because ABCs are everywhere. Remember the cartoons and all the different things they have around them, tell them about their letters already. So all you do is, okay, the A says, this is also A. A has another name, it is A. The later name is A, the sound is A. And before you know it, by the time you sing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you see the children know it already. So your school should focus on phonics first and sounds later. Alright, now that we know what phonics is and why every teacher should know what phonics is and know how to teach it, I'm going to go to Maria Montessori. Who was she? Maria Montessori was born in 1807. That's a very long time ago. And she was the first female doctor in Italy. So she had a doctorate in medicine. And it was at a very difficult time for her because she studied at a time when women had a lot of restrictions. Women were not allowed to do a whole lot of things. But she went against all the odds and studied and became a doctor. Now, after her doctorate, she was posted to a slum to work with children who today we call children with special needs. So she was working with mentally challenged children. They were children that society had already abandoned. Society had given up on these children, and they were just put in a room. They were put in a room. They had people taking care of them, but the people who were taking care of them were not even trained. So in one of her write-ups, she even said the children were treated like dogs. They were treated like animals in the room. They were just given food and left to do anything they like. Nobody was teaching the children. Nobody was really caring for the children. So when she was posted to that slum, she saw it as an opportunity to develop something. So she didn't just give up on the children and take the easy way out. She decided to work with the children, and the first thing she did was observe the children. Observe the children to know what they need. You see, it's only when you understand what children need that you'll be able to teach them effectively. So the first thing she did was observe them. How do children develop? How are all these children developing? What do they like? What drives them? What are they interested in? As she observed the children, she started to form her method. So she didn't just have a method before and apply it on these children. She started first by observing these children. As she observed the children, she realized what they needed, and she tailored her classroom to suit the needs of the children. This is very applicable to everyone who's a teacher today. You need to tailor your lessons to suit the children in your classroom. Fine, you would have a curriculum, you have all the things you need to meet, but you also have to take notes of what the children in your class need, so that you are not just giving children what they don't need. So back to Maria Montessori. So that is how she started her philosophy, studying children to know what they needed. And as she realized what they needed, she tailored her method to suit them. When she started working with children, she found out that these children were doing as good. These children who had been abandoned were doing as good as children who were normal, who society has tagged normal. So children who society had given up on, after working with her materials, were doing as good as the normal children. So she said that if this materials, this method works on normal children this well, how much more would it work on children who are already normal? That's how the Children's House started. So in 1907, she founded the first Children's House. So it was at that Children's House she went really into creating so much more materials and working with children from 2.5 years to 6 years. And she merged all of them in a classroom and called it the Children's House. The Children's House was so successful, or the children's houses she created were so successful, that she began to go for different exhibitions. She created a lot of classes, and a lot of people wanted to study and know what she was doing because of the success they had seen. Now, while she was working with the children, she made some very important observations. The first observation she made was that children love to learn, contrary to what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that children don't like to learn, that you need to use force to make a child learn, that if you don't flog a child, the child will want to learn. If you don't shout, if you're not this domineering person over the child will want to learn. And that's one thing lots of teachers do. You want to flog the child, you want to bully the child, into learning. That's not the way up. That's not the best way to go about teaching children to learn. And that's something Maria Montessori discovered in that house, that children naturally want to learn. If you take a 1-year-old child, for instance, and put that child in a room full of things that are attractive to the child, you will see the child move around, exploring every single thing, touching, tasting, feeling, just exploring, taking everything in. And that really is how children learn. That's how they learn. So naturally, children want to learn. Naturally, children want to explore their environment. So as a teacher, what does that mean to you? Because it meant something to Maria Montessori. It's one of the things that guided how she created her methods. So children want to learn. Children love repetition. That was the second thing she also discovered, that children love repetition. I'm going to use the instance of a baby. If like a 1 or a 2-year-old baby, when you see a 2-year-old baby sometimes playing, I don't know if you've ever observed on your own where you give a child something and the child throws it down. You pick it up and give to the child, throws it down again. You pick it up, the child keeps throwing it down as you give to the child. Now, if you stop giving it to the child, sometimes the child will even cry. But you as an adult, it's so frustrating because you're wondering, why do we need to keep doing this? But for the child, it has become a game. Because that's how the brain of a child works. They want to repeat everything they learn. It's also why when you tell a child learns a new word, the first thing the child wants to do is repeat it. If the child hears someone else say a new word, the first thing that child wants to do is repeat it. So children like repetition. It is us adults that find repetition tiring. But for a child, they like to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, and they don't get tired. You can see a child put a cup here, drop it, put a cup here, drop it, put a cup here, drop it. That's how they learn. So that's one of the discoveries she made about children. Also, children like freedom of choice. Children like to be given different things to choose from. They like that sense of, I have a whole lot to choose from. Rather than you just giving a child one thing, children like it when they can decide to pick this and use it or pick another thing. So having freedom of choice, very important in the Montessori classroom. Also, children like order. Contrary to popular beliefs that children like to scatter a place, yes, children too would like to play. But then if you teach children how to be orderly, you find out that children like order. For instance, I run a Montessori school, and in my classroom, every material has a place where it is kept. You don't, even if you take it to use it, by the time you are done, you have to put it back there. And you see, even our 2-year-olds, you see them returning things. I observed recently the 1-year-old class, the children were returning things. A chart fell from the wall and a 1-year-old went there and was trying to paste it back on. Because that's how children, that is the natural instinct of children. They like order. If a child sees mommy keeps this here, you will see that when it's out of place, the child will go back and try to keep it there. So these are some of the things. That Maria Montessori observed in her classroom, and some of the things that she that guided her in forming her method. Now, the Montessori method is so successful today, or is so successful even after all these years, because it follows the natural development of children. Children are children. Fine, there's technology, there's a lot of advancements. We have more now than people had before. We have more to expose our kids to. But fundamentally, children are the same. And Montessori is international because a child in China is not different from a child in Nigeria. A child in Timbuktu or whatever part of the world is not different from a child in Nigeria. A child in the village is the same as a child in the richest of cities. Why? Because fundamentally we are the same. All the things that differentiate us are the external things. The language is external, but that makeup is still the same. So that's why the method is still very valid today. So even though it's been so many years, it's been more than 100 years since she started, it's still valid today. Now, another observation Montessori made is that children have an absorbent mind. What is an absorbent mind, you might ask? The absorbent mind is the kind of mind the children have that make them absorb things in their environment with very little effort. So the child is not even trying. It's not a case of, oh, today I want to learn this. The child hasn't even gotten to that level of consciousness. So consciously say, I want to learn this, but the child is learning. So when you look at the case of how children learn language, how they learn to speak, nobody sits a child down to say, today we are going to learn how to say come, or today we are going to learn how to speak Yoruba, or today we are going to learn how to speak Igbo. Nobody does that with a baby. Nobody does that with a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. But you see the children, a baby who's in a house where Yoruba is spoken, or Yoruba and English are spoken, the child will learn both languages. That's the power of the absorbent mind. The absorbent mind is the mind that makes the child learn things so easily, and that is how children learn. It's so easy. So what does that mean for you in your classroom today? It means that anything you want your child to learn, put it in the environment. I like to use my children as examples because all the things I know about early childhood education, I use it in my children. I use it on my children and I see the results. So for instance, my children love reading. It's no accident. It's because at every point in time we have a book in the house. I'm always buying books for them. I'm always reading to them. So you see them they like it and they approach it naturally. It just comes to them. They just like to read because that's the environment they find themselves in. So Maria Montessori understood the power of the absorbent mind. And then there's another discovery she made. Children have sensitive periods. Sensitive period. A sensitive period is a period in time where a child will be drawn to a particular attribute in the environment. So for instance, between the ages of 0 to 6, children are in the sensitive period to language. Hence, teaching children a language, the best time, the most effective time to teach children a language is between 0 to 6. That's when the absorbent mind is at work and also the child is in a sensitive period for language. There's sensitivity to movement. Sensitive period to movement is when the child is, I think, between the ages of 6 months to 2 years. The child is in a sensitive period for movement. Hence, you see the child always wanting to move. Hence, when you put a child somewhere, you see the child always wanting to move. That is the sensitive period. So children have sensitive periods. They have the absorbent mind. And all these things are very dominant between the ages of 0 to 6. That's why the early years is so important. Maria Montessori stresses the early years. Primary, yes, it's important. Secondary is important. But you see, the early years is the foundation. Why am I stressing the early years right now? Is that if you get reading right in your nursery, between 0 to 6 years, if you can get it right, you will see that child for life is made. You won't need to chase the child around. Have you read? Have you not read? Have you done your homework? Have you not done your homework? If you get it right when the child is between the ages of 0 to 6, that is the best time to teach children to read. That is the best time to teach children phonics, because by that time the children's minds are so open. All they want to do is learn. But of course, every child learns differently. Not two children learn in the same way. I had a previous video on the group where I talked about different kinds of learners. I don't know if you all have seen it. Where I talked about different kinds of learners. Children learn in different ways. The Montessori classroom is so beautiful because it caters to the different kinds of learners. Now, going back to Maria Montessori and how she approaches reading in children. Now, Maria Montessori approaches reading in children. In a Montessori classroom, when you want to teach children to read, you just don't start with the sounds. The first thing you do is you read a lot of storybooks to the children. Storybooks are very important in the early years. That's why one of the videos I did in the Teachers Hubs, I talked about establishing a library in your classroom or a reading corner. A reading corner in your classroom, a library in your school. Why do you need that? It helps the children in their language. Language is what Maria Montessori calls literacy. So what some of you will call literacy, the Montessori system calls it language. So language has to do with your English. I don't know what you call in your different schools, but there's literacy and I know there's English language. So Montessori just calls it language. So when you hear me say language, know that I'm referring to the subject, in the English language subject, as it's called by Montessori. So the first thing you do is you introduce your children to reading, to books. In your classrooms, there should be books for the children to read. When children are read to, they start to see how words are in a book. They start to see the words in a book. So even before you start teaching children sounds, they already see the words in a book. So by the time you teach them their sounds, by the time they start blending, they are used to seeing books. And they are already interested in books. You've built their interest in reading. So it makes it very easy, because at the end of the day, the main aim, why do we learn to read, is so we can apply it. So Montessori teaches the children both things. Teaches the children the application and the process of reading. So you teach them to read and you teach them how to apply reading. And you don't wait until the child has started reading or blending before you do that. You start it even before the child starts to blend. You start it before you start to teach the child phonics. So for instance, if you have a play group, if you have a crèche, you should inculcate reading, storybook reading into your crèche. You teach your teachers how to read to children, how to read to babies. So that's one of the ways Maria Montessori approaches language in the classroom. Another way is nursery rhymes. Nursery rhymes are so good. If you have a nursery 2 class, 5-year-olds, and you no longer sing rhymes to them, you're putting the children at a disadvantage. You should sing rhymes. Of course, there are different levels of rhymes. You won't do Baba Black Sheep with a 5-year-old anymore, but there are more complex rhymes. There are tongue twisters. All these things open the child's mind to appreciation of language. It also builds the memory of the child. So a child who's always been read to, a child who knows a lot of rhymes, you see that the memory of that child is being improved upon. And all of that are foundation for more academic work. So that's how Mary Montessori approaches language in the early years or in school. Now, the Montessori curriculum, the language curriculum, is broken down into stages. If you look at the overview I gave to you, Module 2 is meant to be the pink scheme, Module 3 is the blue scheme, and Module 4 is the green scheme or green series. Now that is how Montessori breaks it down. So I'm going to talk a bit about these different series that we have under Montessori. So when a child knows the sounds, the next phase becomes knowing 3-letter words. That's the pink series. After the 3-letter words comes the consonant digraphs or consonant blends, which are the blue series. And then the green series are the vowel digraphs. So Maria Montessori breaks it down. Now in the classroom, in the language classroom, in the language area of a Montessori classroom, there are lots of materials. I'm going to go into material making and then I'll go into the presentation of the different materials so you have an idea and you can make your own materials in your class. Many of the Montessori materials, mostly the language materials, can be made. You can improvise. As an educator, you must, as a teacher, when I say educator, find school owner, but even as a school owner or a consultant, 3 things that you must always have. You must always have paper. You must always have markers. You must have stapler or gum. Those things help you create your own materials. Okay. Fergo just said I should repeat the curriculum. What area don't you understand? Can you just indicate it? Because I'm saying a whole lot of things. It's hard when you say repeat the curriculum. I'm not sure. Okay. Thank you, Fergo. So the pink, I'll go into details of that in the following modules. Yes, but I'm just giving a general overview. The pink series has to do with 3-letter words. The blue series has to do with consonant blends. So for instance, you have black. That's a consonant blend. Consonant blends, you have 2 blends together. So you have BL, B, B. That's a new sound. B. So the consonant blends are the blue series. Then the green series are the vowel digraphs, meaning when you have 2 vowels together, they give you a different sound. For instance, the sound E and A gives you E. So that's a different sound. Do you understand it now, Fergo? Let me repeat again. The pink series, I will give you more materials and things to read up. But the pink series has to do with the 3-letter words. So you have a word like bag. That's a pink series word. Bag. Please note, not every 3-letter word falls into pink series. When we get into the pink series, I will help you to see how to identify words that fall under pink series, even when there are 3 letters, and the ones that don't, because some 3-letter words are not pink series words. So the pink series has to do with 3-letter words. The blue series has to do with consonant blends, and they are usually about 4-letter words and above. Now the green series has to do with vowel digraphs, meaning 2 vowels together but giving us a different sound. So for instance, the and the A sound together gives you E, as in eat, to eat food. And A gives you E. So that's the green series. But going back now, so that's just a general overview so you know what to expect. I'll break it in detail so you all understand, and so you will all be able to create your own materials, because that's the essence. If at the end of the day you have this training and you're not able to make materials or use it in your classroom, then it's useless. Because Montessori is not about theory. Montessori is about practice. It's about what you can do in your classroom. Now, from all the different observations she made, she used that to guide her in creating her materials. So in teaching children the single sounds, there is a system to it, to teaching children the single sounds. In a Montessori classroom, you won't find boards. You won't find whiteboards or blackboards. You don't find that. What you find are shelves with materials. You find shelves. I'll put up pictures later of different Montessori classrooms so you have an idea. But what you just do is you tweak it a little to suit your school, because if you're a teacher in your school, you're not going to change the whole school. Or even if it's your school, sometimes it's expensive to buy the materials. So what you can do is see how best you can inculcate these things. Montessori uses materials in teaching. So even in teaching the children sounds, you don't teach sounds by just going to the boards to write, today we are learning about ah. You don't do that. And you don't even find the Montessori teacher just always standing and, the children sitting behind and the teacher standing. You don't find that. You always find the teacher on the same level with the children. So the teacher is always seated with the children and on the same level with them. So today, this first video is just to give you a general overview of what phonics is, who Maria Montessori is and or was, and why her method is so good today. Every teacher should know phonics, irrespective of the class you teach, because it's so easy. 2-year-olds are able to give me sounds after. I talk about my first son who could read at the age of, my second son rather, who could read at the age of 1+. It's not an exaggeration. It really happened. And if I get him to read to you now, you will think he's a 6 or a 7-year-old reading. He's that good at reading. Why? Because I used the Montessori system on him. I can testify to how good Montessori is, because first I use it with the children in my school, but then again, I use it on my own children and I have seen the impact. Now, can we all go out and buy all the materials? No. That's where the material making comes in. So thank you very much. There'll be another video. And sorry about this morning. Many of you said you couldn't hear me. Sorry about that. I have been looking forward to this course. And in short, it's not something even when there's technological difficulty or network or something, just know that I am here working behind the scenes to ensure that everything goes on well and that I'm carrying every one of you along. If you have any questions, I'm just going to wait for another 2 minutes. If you have any questions, please indicate and I would answer. But there will be more videos coming up today. Some will be recorded, some will be live. But not to worry, even if you miss a live video, it's still going to be on the group. All you need to do is watch it and put up your comments. I will go through every comment. And then I would answer. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask. So I am waiting for your questions now. I hope you have learned something. Fego, have you learned something? Ifoma Okeke is here. Have you learned something? Should I ask a question? This is a class. Yes, so I'm the teacher in this class. I am free to ask a question. Have you learned? Let me know if you have any question for me. Let me know if there's something you want me to clarify. If not, I'm just going to go prepare for the second video, which you'll get today. Okay, so I'm glad Fego you have. I'm glad Emanuela you have. If there's anybody else online, let me know if you have questions for me. Teaching children to read is very exciting. It's very easy. You have 2-year-olds reading. In my school, I have 2-year-olds reading. 2 letters. Not that I'm exaggerating. They're reading 2-letter words to me. And they are blending. They are not just memorizing. You see, one thing about teaching children to memorize is that it stresses the child. It stresses the child. Okay, God did it has a question. Is there a special way to read to children before teaching sounds? Oh, yes. Well, okay, let me not be too quick to say yes. When you say there's a special way to read, the way you read to young children is you have to be very dramatic about it. So, for instance, I have a notebook here. It's not a storybook, but I'm just going to hold it. And let's pretend this is a novel or a storybook. I'm sorry, not a novel. A storybook I'm trying to read to children. Now, if I'm trying to read this book to children, I'm not just going to go, the man sat on the board, unless I have the child here. The man sat on the chair. I won't just read that way. I have to be dramatic. The man sat on the chair. Oh my goodness, wow. And then the younger the child is, the less accurate you have to be in your reading. What I mean by that is, if you're reading a whole storybook and you're reading to a 1-year-old, you don't need to read line by line by line. The child will be bored. If you are reading to a 2-year-old, you still don't need to read line by line, word for word. So in other words, before that time, you should have read the book. You know what's in it, so that you just know where to place emphasis. Reading to a 1-year-old child, pointing the pictures is good enough. Wow, can you see the red hat? Oh my goodness, that's the red hat. That's reading to a 1-year-old. Reading to a 2-year-old, still similar, but now more details, more information in the reading. Reading to a 3 and a 4-year-old, more on the words, because that child is supposed to have started blending, so more on the words. So I hope you understand how to read to children. And when you're reading to a classroom, you don't read holding the book like this. You read holding the book. Can you hear me? My video just said it paused. I just got a notification that my video was paused. So before I can continue, I need to know that you can see me and you can hear me. Nenye, can you hear me? Nenye, you asked a question which I will go back to, but I first need to know that you can hear and see me. So I'm waiting to get a response before I continue. Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Is my video still paused? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Akin Sami. Sorry about the names. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name properly. Akin Sami. Okay, Olajumoke is easier for me. Thank you very much, Olajumoke. Alright, so I was talking about how to teach children to read. If you are reading to a classroom of children and they are sitting in front of you, you don't read by doing this. You read by turning the book. So you turn it this way. That's why I said before then you should have read the book. You don't read a book to children that you haven't read before. This is how you read to children. When it's a classroom, you read like this. You hold the book like this and you read like this. Emanuela says the video is still. Is it the same thing for everybody else? Isi says she can see and hear me. Emanuela, perhaps it's your own connection? Because Isi says she can see and hear me. Okay, Naya says she can see and hear me too. Thank you very much. So this is how you read to young children. Then, who asked? I think Naya, you asked me a question. You said, since kids' minds are absorbent, why can't we teach phonics together with the regular alphabets? You can't teach phonics together with the regular alphabet because of the confusion it causes when it's time to blend. It's not that the child will not, if you teach sounds and phonics together, the child will learn it. The child will learn both. But when it's time to blend, there's confusion. Remember that the child's mind is still very simple. The mind of a child is still very simple. So that's why. Because of that simple mind the child has, you don't want to bring in something that causes confusion. The child becomes unsure. My teacher is asking me now to read this word. Am I to say B-A-G or am I to say buag? Do you understand? That's why you don't do both at the same time. Any other questions? Naya, does that help? So I'm waiting for questions and then I can go and get ready for the next part of our module. Emanuela, are you still there? Can you hear me now? Okay, so waiting for questions, and afterwards I would stop this video and would meet again later in the day. Okay, so it seems there are no more questions, but if you have any questions that come up, just put it up later. You can put it on the WhatsApp group, but I like Facebook because I know I've gotten different suggestions on why don't we do this on Facebook on WhatsApp as opposed to Facebook, because of videos, because of the videos. And then WhatsApp gives you a long thread. You see, if it's just a one-day course, if it's just something I'm going to do for say 2-3 hours and that's it, WhatsApp is fine. But you see, for Facebook, this video is going to be here as it is. You don't need to scroll down a very long thread. And then if I add a new member to the WhatsApp group, the person misses out on everything that was done before they joined. So that's why Facebook is better for us. So thank you very much for this class. I hope you can still put up questions and I'll get back to you. So have a wonderful, it's noon now. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.